By recognizing that we only stand to do better and grander things when we open our minds to the power of collaboration. When you collaborate and you bring different skill sets and different creative ideologies and approaches together, you really can only come out with such bomb stuff. Let's work together. Let's work together. We all know someone who you'll never be able to be great on your own. Take a chance on yourself. Believe in yourself. Take a chance on yourself. But nobody else is going to do it for you. And that anything is possible. And for me, that is so true. It sounds like such a cliche because we've heard it so many times that anything is possible. All it takes is to look at me and look at where I have come from to know that it's true. I don't have to say anything. I have to just go back home and say to young people, anything's possible. And they know it's true because they see it in me.
We began as an open mic.
Young creatives simply wanting to express ourselves.
As we supported each other, we started to witness the greatest within.
And without knowing, we grew into a talent hub.
As we began to detail our craft,
we found the courage to share our gift with the world.
From merchandise to the sold-out theatre productions.
To all the amazing people we met and collaborated with along the way.
The process of creating art helped us overcome our fears.
By teaching us the power of art.
We are here to tell you.
We're here to tell you.
We're here to tell you.
We are here to tell you.
We are here to tell you.
It's possible.
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 I'm Chad Isaacs, and this is Raw.
Ladies and gents, we have an exceptional guest in the house tonight. This gentleman is a TV presenter. He's also been a radio presenter. He is a brand strategist. He is an entrepreneur. We've seen him on shows like Top Billing, like SABC Presenter Search. This man is the founder and CEO of the brand consulting company, The Drawing Board. But most importantly, we all know him as being the presenter of the Expresso Morning Show. This gentleman is with us tonight and he goes by the name of Mr. Thabiso Makhubela.
Hey, woohoo! Clapping and applauding for my own self is the most thrilling thing I've ever done. I love it. But listen, that introduction was fantastic because now I'm sitting here feeling like I want to take you with me everywhere I go and like keep you in my pocket. And every time I want my ego stroked and I want to feel like I've accomplished a lot in life, just like press play and have you give that intro again. Chad, how are you doing?
Yo, bro, I'm so good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks so much for being here. I know you were exceptionally busy guy. Thank you so much for being here.
It's so good to be here. When your team reached out, you have no idea. I mean, there was no thinking twice about it. There was no pausing for a second. It was like, it had to happen. It was such a natural yes.
And you know, when everyone speaks about you, I want you to know this. It's always, he is the coolest guy. For real, bro.
Lie.
Yeah, people do lie.
People lie. And, you know, I pay some of them in airtime and data sometimes to say stuff like that. No, I'm kidding. But you know what? I've been very lucky. I moved to this city 2 years ago, to Cape Town from Joburg. And it was really such a nerve-wracking experience for me. And I didn't know the type of people I would meet here. But when I tell you that I have met some of the coolest people I have met in all of my life here in Cape Town, I really mean it. And I think cool recognizes cool.
Well said, brother. Listen, I've got so much questions for you. Your rise to fame, you know, in the last few years was exceptional, you know, in terms of your following, in terms of just your progression in life, should be commended. Can you just take us briefly through some of the highlights, you know, in terms of, you know, when you were at university in Joburg to where you are today?
It's been quite an interesting journey, right? I mean, you and I were having a chat off air about this, about how things somehow fall into place and things this puzzle that is life somewhat pieces itself together in the way that it should. I mean, I was telling you the story of how I grew up in a village. You were complaining about your trash bin that's been stolen outside your studio. I mean, I don't know. But, and I was saying, how is your bin getting stolen? You're like, oh, well, you clearly had a privileged life with not having been stolen. Like, I never had a bin. But I grew up in... It was such a funny story. I grew up in a village in the north of Pretoria. A small town called Hamanskraal, but I grew up in a village just outside of Hamanskraal called Lefatleng village. Do you want to say it with me?
Mafakeng.
Lefatleng.
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 There we
Sounds
go.
like yo, it's a song, but yo, that sounds like
HP on it. So I grew up there, and I think, like many young people coming from that sort of environment, and I suppose many communities that I've gotten to interact with here in Cape Town, there isn't a big priority and focus on youth development and career guidance and that sort of thing. We see it every day here. I think that our people, and I think the black and the colored community in particular across the country, often have so many other things to focus on and so many other things to worry about that sometimes what seemingly is the most important thing, like in education and how we can, I suppose, lift ourselves out of our different sort of circumstances and situations, sort of takes the back seat. And so I didn't know what I wanted to study, basically, in a nutshell. But like I said to you, never planned for it, never prepared for it. And on the day that I got my matric results in Jan 2008, was the day that it dawned on me that I hadn't applied to or registered at a university, and I took a taxi from Pretoria to Johannesburg and went to UJ, the University of Johannesburg, to try and find a place or a spot. I wanted to study law. And I mean, I was obviously late for it, but there was no ways I was going to go back to Hamanskraal. So I remember even saying to one of the administrators there, lady, I'm not going back home. I want to live in Joburg. I want to study in Joburg. I will take any course. Dressmaking, cleaning, home economics, cooking, whatever course has a place available, I'll take it. Fast forward, did psychology and absolutely hated it. 2 years and I dropped out of university. It just didn't connect with me. It wasn't for me, dude. Then I went to take a bit of a gap year and I wrote scripts for a TV show on ETV called Cool Cats. Yeah, the Cool Cats. Wrote scripts for that show and quickly really got promoted to head script writer for that show. And I mean, I was 18 years old, 19 years old. And I already knew at that point that space, the media space and the advertising space and the brand space, was where I belonged. And so I registered to study marketing at Vega. Fast forward, got into advertising agencies, got onto a radio station. My first radio job at a station in Joburg called YFM in 2011. And I worked there 2011 to 2014, doing various shows, starting off at the bottom, Graveyard, all the way to weekend breakfast and specialty programming on Mondays and Tuesdays. Then did entertainment reporting for ETV Sunrise, the breakfast show on ETV, a couple of years. Then started my own business in 2015 and really connected with that. It was the most beautiful thing I could ever do for myself. But I then followed my lifelong dream of being a TV presenter and entered the presenter search with SABC 3 in 2018. That's led me here.
Yo, bro, and that's such an inspirational story just in terms of the journey, man. In terms of, taking step by step, and even though you had those 2 years in psychology, it was part of the process of finding who you were meant to be. And I believe that life sometimes throws us these curveballs and we have to sort of do things to find out what we are not before we can find out what we are.
Absolutely. And I think for me, the standout thing is I don't even regret having gone to UJ to study psychology. I think it's through exactly that experience that you're able to refine your thoughts and refine your direction. You have to be in a place where you don't belong to know the place where you belong.
Of course.
Sometimes that's got to happen. And that forces you to make decisions. That forces you to be a lot more intentional about your direction and about your path. You are forced to think and feel in that space. And that's exactly the experience that I went through.
100%. And what I think is so important for the people to understand to understand out there is that being in your circumstance, coming from a village, right, there needs to be a level of determination for you to become better than the circumstances which surround you. So my next question would be, where does that come from? Where did you get that determination, that ambition, to take a taxi to UJ and want to become something better?
I think that we all have it. I think that we're all born with it. I think we're all born free to dream. I think that we all dream. And the difference is in the voices that you hear around you as you grow up, that sort of dim that dream and say to you, oh, no, come on, it's not worth it. Forget about that. And then slowly you start to forget about it and becomes a dark place for you and it doesn't exist anymore. And being in the differences of that as one example, but on the other hand, where you grow up in a space that encourages you to do that, or where you have to constantly be encouraging yourself. Even when you don't know what that dream means, just remaining committed to that idea, remaining committed to that dream. And I think for me, it was exactly that. My dream, I think, was validated a lot by watching TV. I mean, I grew up watching Generations, They're Bold and They're Beautiful, and seeing that world on TV. I mean, I remember seeing on Generations, they had an advertising agency called New Horizons.
Oh, I remember. Yes,
and that for me is where I then started dreaming or thinking about this world of working in advertising. It otherwise would never have existed in my world. There was no one I knew who worked in advertising. There was no one I knew who went to university. It's just like those things were not real enough. They were only on TV, for example. But they captured my imagination, and I think I also sort of clinged on to that idea. And I think because I was so committed to it, even without a plan, it was meant to happen, and things along the way just drove it in that direction.
For sure. And talking about that, right, what I want to dive into just a little bit is to be in that space, in the space in which we're talking about, the very, very creative space, right? Specifically frontline of TV, being a presenter, whether it's radio or TV, being in the marketing space, right? Because you need to understand people, right? To be in the marketing space, you need to understand people.
Absolutely.
To be on TV, to be on radio, you need to know what's going on, right? So you need to be extremely well-rounded, which you are. How do you maintain that?
It becomes, for me, I've found that it becomes a part of who you are. The work that I do as a TV presenter, and I'll use that as a good example, is I'm not acting. When I go, and especially working on a show like Expresso, is you really do find yourself forced to be as real and as authentic as you can be. And so the connections that we make with people who watch the show, who we meet, who we go and interview, who do amazing things in their communities, those are real connections. And so it becomes a part of my life. It is what I do. When I go to Bonteheuwel and I do an interview on a Mandela Monday hero, someone who's doing something interesting, like the lady in Bonteheuwel, who I even think about now, and I forgot her name. Sorry about that. But she started the first coffee shop in Bontes.
Wow.
And I went to go interview her. Those stories that you hear and connect with, and the people who you meet along the way in Lavender Hill or anywhere I've been, that's real. And so you are plugged in consistently. I don't switch off from it when the interview's done because I am constantly walking and living in that space. The people that I have met in Cape Town have been the most real and the most authentic people who live in many different types of communities. And it's that ability to be able to move conversations and connections and relationships from a Sea Point or Clifton, but equally comfortable going to Grassy Park and chilling and having those conversations and connections with people. You are plugged in consistently. You don't have to work at it. It's who you are. It's what you do. And so that becomes easier to express on TV because it's real. And as far as the marketing work that I do, it becomes easier to do because I am plugged into the cultural soundtrack of people's lives all the time. And if I'm not, I make it an effort to understand people, and that becomes a normal way of doing things for me.
Yo, dude, the way that you just answered that question, so prolific. What I wanted to say, firstly, I want to talk a little bit about what you see when you do these shows about these aunties, because this is I see some of the shows with regards to the great work on Expresso that these people are doing, and even on other radio stations. Like there's always like this auntie that will pick someone up from the gutter, and I always wonder, why aren't we investing in those people? Those people are developing others. Those people are inspiring and giving opportunity. Listen, bro, and I think that it's so important that we, as an audience, as a community, stand together to actually empower these individuals, because they literally do so much good for our community. So
absolutely.
The next question that I have for you is, in terms of the things that you see and the people that you meet that makes you a well-rounded and connected individual, right? Do you think, because my punchline is, when you look at other people, I'm sure you see yourself. And that, for me, that is what we all need to aspire to be. Because when we see ourselves, you don't need to tell me, listen, don't kill that guy, don't rob that guy, don't steal from that guy. Because if I see myself, or I see someone that I love, like, it's not even a question. Do you understand what I'm saying? So how do you think we as a community, as a city, as a culture, as a country, can use your hacks in terms of connecting with people to become better human beings in general?
We see it every day, Chad. And the first point and the first question that you asked, that's such an important question, and it's a conversation that we need to have with each other, that we need to have with ourselves, around why aren't we investing a lot more in these people whose stories we connect with, who we meet on a daily basis, who are really trying to do some amazing things. I've got one good example, and I had to go on my phone,
for sure.
I'm sure you saw, to check. This lady, Lucinda Evans is her name, or Evans. She runs an organization called Philisa Abafazi.
Shut up.
She runs it in Lavender Hill, not far from here. And she looks after women and children. A lot of it out of her own pocket, but the whole thing around it is protecting women and children. And she goes with very, very little support, even from the community that she is trying to enrich and trying to help. I think there's something wrong about our society if we're able to have that exist in our space, to have that it exist and unfold in the way that it does. It either means that we have a great sense of entitlement, that it's not my problem, so-and-so started it, she must do it, it's her problem, that's her cause to fight. Or maybe we feel helpless and we don't know where to help and we don't know what to do. But that, I think, comes from the fact that we're not having enough conversations and asking each other, where can I help? What can I do? Because often, actually, all it is tapping into the need that the next person might have for for help or for assistance or for a bit of support. Sometimes it's not financial. Sometimes it's not anything other than just being there and spreading the word,
100%.
just being there and holding the tent up. So we've got to spend time, I think, speaking to each other. I think we are not, our communities aren't connecting as much as they used to back in the day. We're not communicating with each other, and everybody is speaking past each other. I don't have hacks, to your second question. I really don't have hacks. Like I said, to me, it's just who I am. It's and I suppose it comes from just my upbringing. It's just so I couldn't sit here and say my top 3 tips are 1, because I don't have the tips. I just wake up and do it.
What's a typical day in your life? Let's go through a typical day. I'm sure every day is different, but you know, something that you have to do to get into a good space.
Well, I have to wake up in the wee hours of the morning. So a typical day involves waking up at 4:30 in the morning every day. Okay. And I'm always late for work, but that's another story. But my typical day is that I'm always late for work. It's gotten better. I'm not late anymore, actually.
As long as you're getting better.
It's actually gotten a lot better. But my typical day is 4:30, wake up, get to work around 5:30-ish, 5:15, prep for the show, get, makeup and all the briefs and all of that needs to be done ahead of the live show. Do the show from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. After the show, people think, oh yeah, we go and nap or chill at the beach. But there's so much work that needs to be done. So all these interviews of connecting with communities and going out there and going on the ground happen in the afternoon. Luckily, they don't happen every day. And so I then still have an opportunity to focus on the work that I do with the drawing board. I've had to scale down the business drastically. I mean, everyone's been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. But for me in particular, actually, I had to scale down even before the COVID-19 pandemic, because running a business is a full-time commitment, and especially the type of business that I'm in. When I moved to Cape Town, my business took a big knock. I've got a business partner in Joburg, but it's been a mission to try and keep that together. But typical day then involves connecting with Tammy, who's my business partner, who's in Joburg, on a daily basis. We chat about what needs to be done. We exchange any ideas that need to be exchanged. I connect with clients. I either go looking for new business, or I go chatting to clients and trying to find out what their challenges are and where I can try and solve those. Or I spend time really going through research and packaging strategies, which is what I do. And other times, no one day is the same. Other times, there's events to attend or an interview like what we've got here now. So all my days are completely different. And then other times, I'm caring.
I was going to say that. Do you even like, you have some fun?
Yes! What are you talking about? I mean, I didn't sleep last night. No.
It's like straight from the club to work. It's about 4:30, ladies and gentlemen.
That has happened a few times, but it doesn't happen.
Thabiso, you on time today?
Yeah, no, because I just came from the club. Do you have mouthwash for me? No, that doesn't happen a lot.
Mr. Thabiso, you are a branding guru, a packaging guru, right?
Wow,
and you're or a rabbi or priest. It depends on what you like. Listen, so it's a space that evolves consistently, right? So what are your sort of plans in the future for your business?
Do you know, every job and every space that I've found myself in has always taught me so much, and it's left me inspired to either elevate my own business or sort of upskill myself and tap into a new era altogether. And now that I work in TV, and now that I get to do a lot of brand collaborations and partnerships in my personal capacity on social media as a social media influencer, I realized that there is such a big opportunity in the world of branded content. So on the one hand, I work in branding and marketing, which I've done all my life, through the drawing board, through agencies like Metropolitan Republic, Black River FC, left out many agencies and worked on some really, really cool brands. But now I find myself working in television, which is a space that is content-centric. And my next move is to marry the two worlds, the world of content and the world of branding, and really taking that and using that as my new approach for the agency on how we get to build content for brands that helps brands make sense to consumers in the new age. And that's something we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at building properties and platforms that enable brands to make sense in today's world.
100%.
Yeah.
And just in terms of your thinking, because just from what you're describing, I can already picture how so much creatives are going to benefit from this, because they are the content creators.
So much. You look at you guys, for example, what you've got here is so fantastic, and it's looking at how do we take this space and the conversations that are so rich and so beautiful that you have in this space, and have brands that align with that same ethos and that same idea and that same mission exist with you in this space in ways that are organic. And that is exciting for me, because it's creatives 100%. Like us, all of us in this room here, but it's also creatives like the influencers we see every day. It's comedians like Yassine Barnes, who you had on the show not long ago, whose stories can live with brand stories and can co-create branded content, and that becomes the new way of brands communicating and getting across to them.
And it becomes extremely valuable, not only for the artist, but for the people listening, because the message gets across. And I think that is so important for creatives moving forward, is that there is this massive gap, like you're saying, like you've noticed, between, the brands and the content creators. And if we could marry the two and bridge that gap, I can only see great things happening.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if you look at the landscape, for example, TV is still a powerful medium, but without a doubt, a medium that is slowly dying. And today, people are looking at almost bespoke content platforms that are tailored specifically to their needs. So the days of a brand taking 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 million rands and throwing it at a TV channel and saying, let's place 30-second ads there during Isidimo and this and that, are fast disappearing. What brands are going to need to do, and brands already are doing that, is looking at niche platforms and niche properties like this platform that we're on right now, and going, what is it that is so interesting about this platform that makes people want to connect and interact with it? How can we authentically plug ourselves into that space so that we have a much more targeted approach to how we connect with these people? That's where it's going, and that's where we want to be at the forefront of.
This is going to be big. It's going to be super big, and we're going to chat about that over here
very soon.
100%. Listen, brother, question, a little bit of a more social question. Like, do you ever go back home? And when you do, what are the conversations like? Are people running to you like you like you like the celebrity, and they like?
It's very hot
I see on TV,
where I come from. So people don't see me when I'm home. I literally drive there, park, and then I'm in my house with my family the whole time. I don't go anywhere.
Crazy.
Also because I don't have friends there anymore, and it's sad. And I need to fix that. It's for me to fix, because a lot of the people that I went to school with, a lot of them are still there at home, and a lot of them, are battling, I suppose, with tapping into their dreams and their aspirations and the things that they want to do. But you grow, and when did I live there? I moved out of there in 2007. So it's been a long time. But I do have some really exciting ideas, and I've got a foundation launching in Feb, which we will chat about maybe when the time comes. And it's a early childhood development and youth development center. We already are building. It's a work in progress. It's going to change so many lives of so many young people. Children are the most vulnerable people when we go through tough times. When parents are unemployed, children have it the worst, because what it means is that there is no one who prioritizes their dreams, their needs, their fundamental. Everything is compromised. And what we want to do, or what I want to do with the center, is to really create a space where parents can have a bit of a breather. They themselves can come in and get relief through the same center, but for children to be children, for children to dream, for children to learn and to learn, to have access to resources, information, education outside of obviously a formal traditional school that they otherwise wouldn't have. There's no such thing as tutors where I come from, for example. There is no such thing as extramural activities. So the kids there will never know anything about drama classes. The young boys and girls out there will never know anything about soccer practice because that's not a priority. There are so many other things to deal with. But we want to be able to change that and create that space where children can come do that. You can't change the entire world, but I think for me, that'll be the most fulfilling thing, that if I died next year, that would be my grandest achievement. And when it comes to the youth development side of it, is the opportunity. I've been lucky. My dad's a policeman, and so he, worked in town, and so he had access to some information and was able to share that with me. And when I had dreams and wanted to do things, he was able to expose me to things or ask around in town from his colleagues and people that he met. But so many young people don't have that, so they don't have access to information. I have been absolutely privileged at a small scale, but privileged nonetheless. I have been exposed to things that maybe even everyone that I grew up with never was exposed to, or even at this point, 15 years later, whatever it is, has still not been exposed to. But I need to change that for the younger people of now. I need them to be able to leave grade 10 after school and come in and have career counselors coming every week, every Saturday, chatting to them, asking them what they want to do, why they want to do it, helping them get bursaries, helping universities, helping them connect with universities, driving them to do all those kind of things that we forget about once we leave. I need to go back there. I think that's my mission, is to go back and really intervene in that way. But I'm going to need so much support, and I'll be back here for that support. I know you will support.
100%, bro. That is beautiful. And your ability and your personality and your humility and your drive must be commended just for that idea alone. And if my next question is a segue into all those precious words that you spoke.
Oh, you're crying now.
No, bro, it's like it's
no, he's crying.
Bro, it's like for real, man. Like I feel like we need more of this. We need to help each other, right? So if you could, once you've built the center, and once you start helping, these guys and you go back, like, what's the advice that you would give them?
Is to say that we all have a purpose and that we all are born with a purpose and a dream, and that you can keep the light shining on that dream. My advice will be exactly that, is that commitment to your dream, and staying on your path, and being intentional about it is all you need, and everything else falls into place. You need the support around that and along the way, and that's why we exist, and that's why we'll connect you where we can to the things and the resources that will help support you. But our main thing really is to say to you that continue to dream, and anything is possible. For me, I think the one thing that I always say to young people when I go and I do school talks is that you have to be committed to take a chance on yourself. Everything that I have done in my life along the way has been because I took a chance on myself. I never knew that things would, turn out right and good. I felt it because I knew I belonged somewhere, but there was no guarantees. And so that's been very helpful to take a chance on yourself, believe in yourself, take a chance on yourself, but nobody else is going to do it for you. And that anything is possible. And for me, that is so, so true. It sounds like such a cliche because we've heard it so many times, that anything is possible. But all it takes is to look at me and look at where I have come from to know that it's true. I don't have to say anything. I have to just go back home and say to young people, anything's possible. And they know it's true because they see it in me, and I believe it. And I'm constantly in awe, and I'm amazed at all of that. And it still drives me because I've got many other big dreams, and I'm still building. And as I build on what the foundation that has been laid through the support that I've had, I'm reminding myself all the time that anything is possible. So and I have to take a chance on myself.
Dude, that is wise words from a very, very wise man. And Mr. Thabiso, before I ask my last question, please tell the people where they can find you.
Well, social media has made it so easy to connect. There are so many ways to connect with me. Instagram is where I live, number one. So you can catch me on my Instagram at Thabiso, which is my name, _Makhubela. And I'm sure you will write it on the screen at this point. And you can also email me. I'm really good on email. It's hello, like HELLO, at thabisolive.com. Or you can go on my website. It's www.thabisolive.com.
That's amazing. And all of the information will be on the screen. My last question. This has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for being here.
Chad,
my last question for you, sir.
I don't want to leave.
I don't want you to leave. How do we make this creative industry a better place?
By recognizing that we only stand to do better and grander things when we open our minds to the power of collaboration. When you collaborate and you bring different skill sets and different creative ideologies and approaches together, you really can only come out with such bomb stuff. Let's work together. Let's work together. We all know someone who you'll never be able to be great on your own. No great person ever did it by themselves. The greatest musicians, Beyonce has a team. She recognizes Beyonce, she knows she can sing, but she can't photograph herself. She can't write the songs all by herself. She can't. But you see the machine that it builds when different pieces come together that are good at one thing. When we realize that by collaborating with or working with other people, it doesn't mean that you're not gonna get a light of this, a bit of a ray of the spotlight, then you will do better.
Oh man, that is what it's all about. Collaboration. It's something I strongly believe. This has been a blast. Thank you so much. This man is a TV presenter. This man is a radio presenter. This man is an absolute gentleman. Thank you so much for being here. And all the best. Keep shining.
Thank you, Chad. Can I ask you a question before we go?
Sure.
What do you think we need to do to make the creative industry work better? What do you think?
There's well, I'm gonna give you the short answer, right? There's three things. The first thing is investment from corporate. Second thing is investment from government, and then it's the marriage of all three parties, which is corporate, government, and artistry, and that should be the collaboration. You know, think of a vitality for artists, where it's everything is based on performance, work ethic, and creativity. And I think once we start thinking in that light, I think we start heading in the right directions, and the questions that we have now will be answered.
Wow. A smart man, an intelligent man, bringing all those good thoughts and inspiring ideas together. I love it. Thanks so much for having me, man.
I felt like I was on your show now.
I don't want to leave now. But it's been so good. And I congratulations to you and your team on this. This is going to inspire, already is inspiring so many people. And I'm inspired just watching past interviews, and I'm just like, wow, what a much needed platform. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having this, and I know it's gonna do so well.
And I hope to have you back soon.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean,
tomorrow, let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
We'll do it at a reasonable hour, no, not 1:30.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, bro.
Cheers, man.
rock, baby. And it's rock, baby. Yeah. It's rock, baby. And it's rock, baby. And it's rock, baby.